Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another Collision Repair Open Dialogue session. I am the editor of Collision Repair Magazine and your host for the next hour, Allison Rogers. And today, like I said, we're here with 3M Automotive Aftermarket's Bill Suzuki. He's an application development specialist with the company, and he'll be talking about the development, design, everything we need to know about the 3M Performance Spray Gun, which just came out in the Canadian market in March. So a relatively new tool. We're all familiar with the Accuspray, of course. This is their new spray gun. But to start off, before we delve into some of the technical information, I'll just give a bit of housekeeping notes, like I mentioned. So for the next half hour or so, I'll just be tossing some questions at Bill about the gun, and then he'll be answering them, delving into some of the details of the 3M Performance Spray Gun. And then after our chat, we'll watch a brief little video of the 3M Performance Spray Gun before Bill does a nice little demonstration here for us. We won't be heading into the booth today, unfortunately, just because it's a little too loud for that, but we will have the gun out, show some changing of some heads, some cleaning techniques, and you'll get a nice little look at the gun. So we've also got some polls queued up, as you might have seen if you joined in the early minutes of the webinar. Be sure to submit your answers as those polls run when they pop up on the screen. We love to see participation. And on that note, we will also be having a Q&A session at the end following the demonstration. So hold all your questions until the end or fire them off in the chat. We'll get to them eventually. And Bill's happy to answer everything. And if you have any questions that come to you after the webinar, don't worry, just reach out to us and we will make sure 3M gets your question. So without any further ado, let's delve into our session. Thank you so much for joining us today, Bill. We're so thrilled to have you on.
Well, thank you for having me, and thanks for everybody that's joining in right now as well. Appreciate it.
Of course, yes. So obviously, some people know that you've been with 3M for a long time. You've been part of the automotive aftermarket for a while, but what's your history in the automotive aftermarket space and with 3M? How did you get to where you are today?
Well, it all started as about 24, 25 years ago. I actually applied for a job. My first job was actually working hourly in the manufacturing plant here on the same site that my lab is in currently. Started working shift work about 2 years, and I think that was a great way to learn the culture of the company, how things are developed. I got to see how they're made, obviously, and later on, as the career progressed, spent a couple of years in scheduling and planning of the manufacturing facility. Then this job came up to be at the time is called a technical service rep. So like customer service, except dealing on the technical thing. I have a bit of a science background. So I thought, well, and I have a passion for the industry. I'm a longtime automotive enthusiast, and I love seeing things repaired. So this kind of fit right in. Jumped into the lab for 3 or 4 years, had a brief 4-year period in marketing for the same group, and then came back to the lab. Missed a lot of the hands-on stuff during my time in marketing. So I was happy to come back to the lab and get some more practical work done in the lab setting. And the customer interaction is probably one of my favorite things of the job as well. So yeah, long story short, 20 years roughly in the automotive aftermarket. Couldn't think of working, even though 3M is very broad, a lot of divisions in the company. I couldn't imagine working for another division.
Yeah, clearly, and you're a familiar face in that division. People know you. And obviously you had a lot to do with the 3M Performance Spray Gun. That's why you're here today. So you were part of the development for the last 10 years. And before we get into the whole background as to why 3M developed the spray gun, what are some of the most compelling features in your opinion? If you were a shop owner or a painter, what would you look at and be like, that's cool in the gun?
Sure. There's a lot of advantage to using this gun. There's a lot of great, fantastic spray guns on the market. And our goal was to replicate how those sprayed, but we've got a few different other benefits too, in terms of the cleanup. Combine it with our PPS 2.0 system. Cleanup is a snap. You're not worrying about things hardening in the atomizing head. Really, the only thing that is touching the fluid is the atomizing head, which is reusable and disposable. But the tip of the needle is probably the only thing that's really of the gun body is touching the fluid of the paint, the primer, that undercoat that you're spraying. So very quick cleanup, faster changeovers. We can actually, and I'll show you a little later on how we can, in a single booth cycle, in the booth, change coatings, different color or what have you, without having to do a whole, with the same gun body, without having to spray out and get out, leave the booth, risk dust coming in, opening the door, to do a changeover of a color in the booth. And of course, just faster cycle cut times using that technology and the ability of the quick change, quick clean. Another thing that's not listed is the lightweight of the gun, and we'll talk about it a little later on. You had mentioned the Accuspray gun. That was our first kick of the can for a spray gun product. Great product, still is very widely used for primers, undercoats, etc. The goal of the performance spray gun was to elevate the spraying capability and solve a few other things that make people want to spray top coats with it, not just primer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's a real triple threat there: the faster cleanup, faster changeover cycle times. Then, yeah, amazing. Yeah. So, like I mentioned before, it's 10 years of research and development. What was the thought process? I mean, 10 years on one product. What was the team really setting out to create here? Clearly, there was a vision at hand.
Sure. And again, the Accuspray technology that we brought to market was we found it very useful, but we saw we had some opportunities to expand. So we've got some very smart engineers over in head office in Minnesota, and they did spend a lot of time looking at items like spray efficiency, how well the product sprayed and laid down on the panels with different coatings, and also compare the Accuspray, how we were able to leverage that interchangeable atomizing head technology, except just make it a little more user friendly. And I think we were able to do that with this gun. We've also launched another size. We've always been from a 1.2 to a 2 millimeter atomizing head. We added a 1.6, and we're actually always looking to improve the technology to atomizing heads to make an even more wider spray experience for the technician.
Mm-hmm. And they can spray a variety of different coatings. It's not just for one.
No, you're right. Absolutely. The Accuspray, I would say the spray quality of that product laid out was great for sealer and primer. We had smaller atomizing heads. It would spray out top coats. But this product, we designed it to spray top coats, being base coat, clear coat, etc., and do it very well with all the benefits that we've been talking about.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. So were there any specific challenges or bottlenecks or feedback that you were striving to address compared to the Accuspray with the new performance spray gun? I mean, obviously cycle times was something on the last slide.
Yeah, I had mentioned the atomizing head, the connection. I've got an Accuspray gun here. So this is our Accuspray gun. Again, these are technologies over 10 years old. And the way the atomizing head attaches, kind of a friction fit. It ends up in these little latches here that have to be pristine to be able to click in. And it wasn't maybe the best attachment. It does work. You learn how to use it, keeping the latches in real good condition. It works very well. However, there still were some instances in which either air was leaking through or it wasn't latched on perfectly. Whereas with the new performance spray gun, we have a locking collar. So that's how it locks on. Slight turn and it removes, and it's a kind of a cammed system in that pulling the trigger, attaching the atomizing head, giving a rotate. Not only is that really well on there, it's not going to be falling off no matter what size, how much weight of material you have on the pot, but also you don't have any instances of air leaking through. So it's a very good, solid connection, one that will be confidence inspiring for everyone that can use it, that may recall or is still currently using the Accuspray gun.
Mm-hmm. Third-party tested and painter approved. I've talked to a couple of painters that have used the gun, and one of the main things that they talk about is the lightweight feeling, which we will get to eventually as well. So we've obviously touched on a couple of the gun specifications, and we'll delve more into it when we do the demonstration and everything. But is there anything available we haven't touched on? What are some of the other key features, in your opinion, of the gun? I mean, we obviously have the three things mentioned before, but let us know more.
Yeah, no, the gun itself, again, I think one of the biggest thing is you mentioned the lightweight. When we did the field trials, I think a lot of painters, the first time they pick it up and spray it, the lightweight gets to them because, you know, as an industry, we're used to our metal guns, and they, like I said before, they spray fantastic. The thing is, sometimes lightweight also, people think it's equivalent to lower quality, and that's something that it only took the first trigger pull for the painter to realize that this product, you get the best of both worlds. You're able to get a high spray quality and the lightweight. Another thing we can talk about is transfer efficiency at HVLP settings, 20 psi. You're getting more of the product onto the panel. So our transfer efficiency has been third-party measured at 78% at 20 psi inlet pressure. So that allows 78% of the material to end up on the panel, whereas the other 22 is in the stack overspray elsewhere. So technicians, owners, all that kind of stuff would prefer to have the material on the panel where they want to put it, rather than out the exhaust stack and elsewhere in the booth, obviously.
Yeah, well, obviously. Actually, funny enough, I ran a poll asking what people consider when purchasing a new spray gun, and 78% of people said high transfer efficiency. So just laugh at the consistency there. 78%.
That's good.
It's funny.
I think we planned it that way.
Yeah, so transfer efficiency is obviously a huge one, like you said, not just for business owners, but not just for the painter, but for business owners as well, because less material in the air, in the exhaust system, less money coming out of your pocket to fill those supplies.
Yep, exactly.
Amazing. We've already touched on a lot of specifications here, but we'll keep these up on the screen for anyone that is curious. And Bill, I'll turn my camera off and hand over the screen to you so you can do your demo here.
All right. Thanks, Allison. So just kind of touching about the gun, the one thing that you may have saw from the video, some of the close-ups is, and we discussed it earlier, is the different atomizing heads. So we have everything from 1.2, we have a 1.3, we have a 1.4. This is a 1.4. You can see that it's printed 1.4 HVLP right on there, and everyone has a different. For a quick reference, the plastic inside has a different color. So here's the 1.3 is the green one, 1.4 is the orange, etc. 2 millimeters of red. So it not only shows you what color, what size of the atomizing head, but the color kind of signifies that for quick reference as well. And the thing about these atomizing heads are, as I described before, the ease and security of the way they're attached. No coating or paint touches the gun except for the very end of the needle tip. So that allows the technician to be able to do very fast cleaning. You know, the outside of these composite guns, they are lightweight. They do not put up well with solvent washes and baths. Now, if you get a little overspray on the body of the gun, dip a little solvent in a cloth and giving a wipe, that is perfectly fine. But these guns we don't recommend these being put into a bath or an automatic gun washer, because that's probably one of our things is we've had technicians that are religious. They're very clean people, they like clean equipment, and we understand that, but there is no reason that you have to remove the needle and all these things after every use or even after every week and at all, really, because the part that touches the paint is the atomizing head, which we'll go over cleaning in a second, and the needle tip. So those are the only two things that really have to use regular cleaning. Gun setup, again, most of you that I'm tuning in, I'm guessing are professional painters, so you'll know how to set up your gun. The fan control, typically we don't recommend going any farther than 2 full turns out, and then the fluid control, the needle, about 4.5 turns, it should be wide open for you and be good to go. Then of course we've also got every gun comes with a cheater valve, and we recommend, full trigger 20 psi. But if you prefer to give it a try, jack it up if you want, if you think that's how you want the product to lay down out of the spray gun. All right. Other thing I wanted to show you is I had mentioned for cycle time. I'm going to show you a quick demo here. In that we've got our PPS 2.0 paint, and we're going to say you go in and do your spraying. Obviously, we're going to attach the gun. I recommend holding the atomizing head as opposed to holding the gun body. That's the preferred way to attach the PPS. Again, it goes on quarter turn, and then you're ready to spray. So we're going to go in the booth and say we've got a couple different products that we want to sell. Like, we understand you can do multiple clears with using the same clear in the same booth cycle, but say you had 2 colors, 2 or 3 or 4 colors you had to spray. What you could do is walk in with the booth with your gun with the first coating you're going to spray, and then another PPS setup with the atomizing head, the appropriate atomizing head already attached, and you could go in to that booth and on the same cycle spray part number 1, disconnect the air, invert, and we recommend pulling the trigger, couple taps to remove the just to break the surface tension so it can go back down. And then I'm gonna twist this collar. I'm gonna set it down so I don't spill it. But you can then remove the gun with give the needle a solvent wipe, and then you can go straight to your next coating. We're gonna pull the trigger, press it on, and rotate the collar. And then it's as quick as that, as little cleaning as that, and you're spraying your next color, next coating. And again, you want to make sure, consult your paint company to see if what kind of spacing is recommended for your booth. It's a little difficult if you're going to be doing like a cross draft booth. Doing colors like that may not be the best. However, good downdraft booths do allow you, if proper spacing, allow changing colors without worries about cross contamination. So again, change colors, and again, if you have to go back once the flash off is ready to go, just repeat and change it off. Now, in terms of cleaning, once you're done, it's simply a matter of, as I said, disconnect the air. You're going to invert, pull the trigger so the fluid runs out. I also recommend 3 short taps just on your table. What that does is breaks the surface tension of the filter. And then you can remove the PPS from the atomizing head. And like I said, a couple different things you can clean. This is the only thing that has coating in it. So you could use, we have a product called our high-powered spray gun cleaner. You could spray that in. This product it is high pressure. So typically we like to, A, eye protection, and B, gently feather the trigger as you're cleaning the inside. It works great for both solvent and waterborne coatings, paints, etc. Let it drain out, but also conversely, you can also, if you want, take it off, put a solvent stream through all of this. Again, you don't want to bathe it in solvent, and then just once it's running clear, it's just a matter of blowing with compressed air, because what we don't want is behind the air cap, if any solvent mixed with paint or coating gets in there, it could harden up. So once that's all flushed out, compressed air to dry it out and blow it up. And then again, the big key thing is on the gun body, the only thing touching the paint is the needle. So give that a wipe. Like to pull the trigger, again, attach, give it the rotation, and then that's considered clean and ready to go for the next use. Or again, you could change atomizing heads if you're doing a different coating that recommends a smaller, larger atomizing head. And again, always refer to your paint company's technical data sheet as terms of what atomizing head is best suited for that coating. Now that's the gun in a nutshell. How we clean it, how we spray with it, how we can improve cycle time in terms of using the same booth cycle to change coatings. There's one more thing I just wanted to show you with this gun, as it's kind of it could be called a convertible, in that if any of you are spraying large volume coatings, I'm talking large surface area, buses, trucks, etc., and work out of a pressure pot, this same gun body can be used for that. Again, you don't have to use the same gun. However, switching to these slightly different atomizing heads, this one is for our pressure pot system. The difference you'll see, it doesn't use our 2.0 attachment like this one. So this is how it orientated. This one is how it goes in the gun. This is our pressure pot. We've got a 1.1, a 1.4, and a 1.8 in this size. There's the 1.4. So this will go on the gun. Pull the trigger. We're going to put it on. You'll notice the fluid inlet is facing down. That is so it accepts what we call a whip hose. And again, a lot of you collision guys, you probably won't have to do this. However, if you're working in a shop that does larger things with a pressure pot, this may be of interest to you. A whip hose, it actually, with this little locking pin, I'm going to pull that out. It attaches to the bottom of the air inlet on the bottom of the gun, like so. And we're going to lock that back in. And then that's where our fluid will be going in. I'm just going to rotate this around so we don't have any. So the fluid inlet is now at the bottom here. And this with the ears, so to speak, in the north-south orientation, that'll attach to the bottom of this atomizing head. And then you're all set to spray from a pressure pot. Again, I think a smaller volume or percentage of you folks watching will be doing that, but I just want to make you aware that this changing the atomizing heads and purchasing this accessory, or there's also a kit which has all this kind of stuff, will enable any of you folks that are spraying transport trucks, buses, dump trucks, any large equipment, to change this into a convertible gun where you can spray larger volumes out of a pressure pot. And that's actually all I had to show you in terms of the gun right now.
Awesome. I was actually just about to ask if, well, my next question that I was wondering as we were going through is, oh, can you use it to paint completes? Answered my question right there. If you can use it to paint dump trucks, transport trucks, I think it can handle a complete paint job.
It can handle yeah, and also, again, you can walk in with multiple PP. If you're not set up with a pressure pot system, you can walk in with multiple PPS containers for that complete. And again, without leaving the booth, you can just swap and put a new PPS system on with the coating, and off you go again.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, another one of my questions that I had here, just from that, going through that, you mentioned that it's better to use in a downdraft booth than a cross booth. Could you repeat why that was?
Well, I just think in terms of if you're changing colors, again, I think some paint companies are okay with spraying a red and an orange in the same booth cycle because the colors are so close. Mm-hmm. The thing is to worry about any overspray and cross contamination as best you can, obviously. So, and again, in a cross draft booths, it could be difficult preventing. Depends how you orientate the panels, I imagine, how you're spraying. If they're both in parallel beside each other, the air is going this way with it, it may be okay. But again, it's something you may want to play with. Whereas downdraft booths, everything is going away from the panels. There's no worry about cross contamination.
Yeah, and from my experience, downdraft is pretty common nowadays in all the shops. So we've got a lot of questions rolling in here. So I won't ask any more of my questions. I'll just get what the viewers are saying. But we've got a question from Steve Gogan. He wants to know what the life expectancy of the disposable tip is.
No, Steve, that's a great question. Thanks for jogging my memory. That's something I was thinking about talking about. Typically, when we did our field trial, it turned out worked out quite well if a technician was changing it out in a week. Okay. There's a couple things that happen with these atomizing heads where we recommend changing them out. One, and the one that we're most concerned with, is the spray pattern. So every time you trigger the gun, the needle is going to hit the opening where the fluid's coming out, and it'll cause it'll eventually, there'll be wear occurring, causing a distortion. Initially, we were saying, about 8 to 12 cleanings, we change it out. But what we're finding is that it kind of depends on the painter. If the painter starts seeing their spray pattern degrading to a point where they would change it out, then you want to change it out. But other than that, there's not really, it's hard to set a hard and fast timeline, because the abrasiveness of every coating is going to be different. The number of trigger pulls, depending on every job, is going to be different. So we don't, for that reason, say exactly it's going to be this many cleanings or this many jobs. And I would hazard a guess that a lot of all the other guns on the market don't specify that either. It kind of gets done when the painter believes their spray pattern is starting to be compromised and degraded, and that's when we recommend changing the atomizing heads out. Now, the beautiful thing about this is it's a fraction of the cost of a rebuild kit. New needle, new nozzle, etc. For most guns. Again, you put this on, and that's the wearable part, and it sprays like a brand new gun. So on average, again, we've heard anecdotal things about folks spraying 100 jobs before they change this out. But we kind of round it off. Well, anywhere within a week is usually pretty good. Gotcha. Good question. Thank you.
Yeah. Another question. This one's from an anonymous attendee. This one's also about tips. They want to know when they can expect RP tips.
All I can say about that is we've got engineers working on new atomizing head technologies all the time. So, the launch isn't even a year old. So that's kind of
it's still great.
All I can say is it's new technology is being worked on all the time with these things. So I can't give you a time if and when, but new technology has been working on.
Okay.
Hope that you read between the lines of that one.
We'll keep it that. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you. We've got a question here from Charles Lagace. He says, what would the part number be for the pressure pot kit? I don't know, off the top of your head.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I apologize. I'm being a lab guy. I'm really not that good with part numbers. We can get that. It's on the 3M Canada website. Again, and there's a couple different ways. The kit will come with a gun, with the pressure atomizing heads and the whip hose. I just also want to let you know that if you already have the gun body using it with the gravity, with the PPS, you can also just purchase the whip hose and the pressure atomizing heads separately as well. So I just wanted to make that aware. So there is a kit that has everything complete, or you can, if you already have one of the guns in the gravity configuration, you can also purchase those items separately. And like I said, I apologize, I don't have them in front of me, but they're available on our 3M Canada website.
We'll get you that information, Charles. Don't worry, I've written it down. We will be sure to send that to you after the call. And I think we already answered this question halfway at least, but Philippe wants to know if 3M has a pressure pot and if the pressure pot option has a universal tread.
Yes, great question. No, we do. 3M does not have a pressure pot. We rely on the pressure pots from other manufacturers. And yes, it is a universal thread for the bottom of the fluid inlet for the whip hose to go in. I also want to mention that same thread is also, we have a shutoff valve as well that can be added as another accessory to the bottom of the whip hose. So if you have to do any service, you can turn off the pressure leading to the gun as well. So that's something that's I should mention as well. But yeah, it is a universal thread.
Awesome. Perfect. So Sebastian, thank you for that. Charles, we've got the SKU here for you. It's 26878 26878, but we will send that to you after the call as well. Just make sure you got it there. All right. So I was also wondering, we'll wait for more questions from viewers. I'm sure there's more coming, but I'll get to a couple more of my questions that I wrote down. But PPS cups, I know I don't want to ask about new technology, of course, because you did just answer that question, but is there any updates recently to PPS cups or any way that they work better with the performance spray gun at all?
PPS 2.0 came out probably about, I want to say about 5 years now. And that really, it's helped out in a lot of things. We've, with the new domed lid structure, a larger filter, little windows so you can see how much coating has been used, etc., and the collar. So that was the latest change to PPS, which helps improve the flow and the user experience with it. So yeah, we haven't we don't have anything yet further going on with PPS. One thing we have since the 2.0 launch was we do now have available the UV primer PPS. That's the opaque black lid and liner to prevent UV primers from kicking over with the transparent PPS. So that's probably the newest item that has come from the PPS family.
Awesome, great. So you mentioned no solvent wash too, just wiping. So what would happen if you did use solvent wash on this gun?
No, it's a great question. You know, being a composite polymer, if you're soaking in it, what happens is the seals in the back that we use to seal the air in for both the fan and the fluid, it could start to degrade that. So a couple things that you may notice that's happening is if you see here air hissing out of the back of one of these, the chances are, and you have been one that is putting it in an automatic gun washer or dumping in a bucket to clean, those seals are probably perished. So it's time to change those. We do have rebuild kits that kind of include pretty much everything you're seeing except I think the trigger, the actual adjustment knobs, and the bottom air inlet. You get a new composite gun body, new collar, new needle, and of course all the seals that I had talked about that will possibly fail depending on what solvent you're using. So that's able to be used now as well. So, but yeah, if you hear air hissing out of these adjustments, you're probably, or actually there's a new poppet valve as well. So if it's being removed too much and with the solvent, you'll feel air coming out of that and they can all be replaced.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. We kind of talked about longevity of the tips, but I mean, the gun's obviously very new, so I doubt that you've had to test the longevity of any that have gone on the market yet, but do you know how long the gun would last in a typical body shop setting?
You know what? That's a great question. I do know. Yeah, the composite that we've made the gun body out of is very durable. It's, you know, we've done a lot of drop testing with it, etc. So that's durable. I think the biggest failure thing would eventually possibly, and maybe I hate to use the word misuse, but in case people are being a little too thorough in cleaning the gun body, is those seals. The gun, there shouldn't be anything that should fail in the gun with proper use for an extremely long time. I could see maybe there could be a poppet valve inside controlling the fluid and the needle that may, after a couple years of use, may have to repair. But like I said, that's included in the rebuild kit. It's practically a brand new gun. Well, it sprays like a brand new gun when you replace the atomizing head. And if you happen to have some issues coming up, you know, with that rebuild kit, it will almost totally be a brand new gun. So that's available as well.
Yeah. So the nice thing about the composite, like you said, I mean, it's not just a one drop and your gun is gone. Like it's gonna be around for a long, long time when you purchase this piece of equipment.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Awesome. All right. All right. So if anyone has any more questions, we are getting low on any questions here. So now's your opportunity, but don't worry. There's also an opportunity to send your questions to Bill and the 3M team afterwards. So if anything pops up later on today, just let us know and we can fire that question that way. And at the end of the webinar, we'll also have a link for anyone who wants to sign up for a demonstration, a personal demonstration. You can have a one-on-one session with someone from 3M. But before we start, we wait for more questions here. What about parts and accessories? Obviously, we have all this up on the screen. We kind of touched on things, but what are some of the things that don't come with the gun that you think would be beneficial to a collision shop?
Well, up on the gun exclusively, when in gravity position, it exclusively used PPS 2.0. So we've got the 5 or 6 sizes for PPS that are that will be used for that. But yeah, the gun also comes with everything you need. You know, it's got the air control valve and the other atomizing heads. But the only thing I can think of is picking the right atomizing head. And that I mentioned before is you check with the tech data sheet for your the paint you're spraying, the coating you're spraying, and make sure you have the correct atomizing head, and then off you go.
Yeah, so I mean, that's critical as well. We don't want to use the term misuse, obviously. That's not something that we want to say, but there is potential for sometimes user error happens. It does happen. So obviously with training and stuff, how do you guys manage that and make sure that, you know, the product is in the right hands and that they're using it properly?
Well, I think in our industry, you know, they're true painters. They know how to adjust gun. They know how to do their job. They've in many times they've been on the same paint line for decades, so they know how to work their craft to the best of their ability. And it's interesting. We also showed this gun to other industry where we would have applicators. They're not painters, and we have to spend a lot of time with them, showing them how to adjust the gun, depending, you know, the speed, their hand movements, everything. Those are more challenging calls. Whereas we go into a collision shop and we put this in the hand of a painter, just show them the nuances in terms of attaching the atomizing heads and those two, and they run with it. They know exactly what to do. They know exactly what to adjust to get it perfect the way they like it. So honestly, there's no real, all the adjustments are similar to other spray guns on the market. It's pretty universal. So there's no real
learning curve,
nuance. Right? Exactly. Yeah. It's pretty, other than attaching the atomizing head, that's probably the biggest learning thing that a painter will have to get used to.
Absolutely.
Oh, and unlearning that you don't have to clean, you know, soak it in solvent to clean it. That's probably the other.
Yeah, I can imagine that'd be quite the learning curve, especially for a painter that's been in the industry for 30, 40 years, learning about, you know, oh, now I don't have to wipe the entire thing down. This is crazy.
Exactly.
All right, so we're getting to the end of our session here, as we don't have any more questions coming in, but I just wanted to say thank you to Bill and everyone at 3M for joining us today. We really appreciate talking about the spray gun. And everyone, like I said, if you have any questions that come to you in the next hour or so, or even a week after the webinar session, feel free to reach out to, you can either message me, you can message Bill from 3M, you can just message 3M directly and ask them ask them your question and they will answer it happily. We will also be launching a survey at the end of this webinar that gives you opportunity to opt into 3M's email promotions, and you can contact them through that, as well as I mentioned, the demonstration box. But anything else you wanted to say, Bill, while you're on the stage here to talk to the collision repair community? But we thank you for everything you said.
No, thank you for having me. That's the biggest thing, Allison. We appreciate giving this time to be able to introduce our new toy, so to speak. We would obviously rather be doing this in person with everybody. This is a great forum, and getting to a larger group easier, but nothing takes substitutes being able to be face to face with folks. Hopefully, as things open up, that'll be a lot sooner rather than later. But in the meantime, feel free to as Allison did, contact your local 3M rep for a demo to have one of these put in your hand and give it a try. But thanks for your attention and tuning in today. We really appreciate it. And Allison, thanks for organizing this. We appreciate that as well.
Yeah, thank you, Evan, for your questions and your thoughtful comments. And like Bill said, be sure to check out the gun, and hopefully we can try it out in person someday. I can't wait to try it. All right, well, thank you so much, everyone. Have a fantastic Tuesday, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.